The movie begins on a battlefield in Afghanistan where Captain Varela is handed an injured child. As she tries to get the child to breathe, the rest of the team works together to get the aircraft out of the battlefield. However, despite Varela's efforts, the child does not make it. The scene changes to a hospital where Captain Varela treats her patients. She then goes to write a report on the surgery she had performed earlier that day. When she enters the office, she overhears Captain Torres having an argument with his wife. Once he hangs up, he tells Varela that they should get some rest, but she tells him to go ahead without her. When he leaves, Varela notices a blood stain on her wrists and starts scrubbing to get rid of it. On August 12, 2012, in the Herat military base in Afghanistan, Varela is introduced to a new nurse, Raquel Sanchez. When she asks Raquel if she has any combat experience, she replies that she does not. As Varela and Raquel walk inside the base, they are joined by other officers as well. Just then, a military Chinook arrives at the base carrying a container. Once it lands and more soldiers enter the base, Varela takes Raquel inside a medical tent. She gives her a rundown of where all the equipment is and how medical procedures will take place during combat. Meanwhile, in the north of Bala Murghab, a Spanish and American convoy makes their way across a dirt track. Lieutenant Connie advises all of the units to remain on track to avoid triggering any IEDs. All of a sudden, one of the trucks triggers an IED and gets blown up. Sometime later, Lieutenant Connie is instructed to clear a path for the medevac to land. He is told that once all the injured men are tended to, he needs to make sure that everyone leaves the point of the incident immediately. Once the medevac comes into sight, the rest of the convoy leaves, and only a few men remain behind with the injured. The medevac containing Varela, Raquel, Captain Torres, and a few other soldiers tries to land at the point of the incident. However, the dusty area makes it hard for Captain Torres to see what he is doing. When he lands, the tire gets stuck in a pothole, causing the helicopter to tip over. Everyone manages to make it out alive, but Captain Torres injures his foot and the helicopter loses its blades. Connie introduces himself to Captain Torres while Raquel and Varela make their way to the injured soldiers. Captain Torres then makes a call to Commander Ledesma and informs him about the situation at the point of the incident. Ledesma is told that the American convoy had left the point of the incident, leaving behind 5 vehicles with 25 men, 2 wounded Americans, and the crew of the medevac. When the Army general finds out about the incident, he instructs his men to prepare a Chinook so that everyone can be rescued. He also tells them that they need to destroy the medevac so that it cannot be used by the enemy. This is when Ledesma interrupts him and tells him that they should bring back the medevac since it is one of the few that they have remaining. The general points out that the Chinook can only carry 7,900 kilos at a time. Ledesma assures them that the helicopter had lost its blades, which were 250 kilos. If they ask Captain Torres, he could take more weight off the helicopter and make sure that it can be lifted by the Chinook. At first, the general is unsure of the plan, but when Ledesma tells him that if they leave the medevac there, the enemies can take pictures and claim victory. Hearing this, the colonel decides to call Varela and asks her if the wounded soldiers can spend the night at the point of the incident. Although she wants everyone to be evacuated as soon as possible, she tells the colonel that they are stable enough to stay the night. Then, Ledesma instructs Captain Torres to reduce the weight of the medevac and make sure that it loses at least 1,500 kilos. At the same time, Connie plants his men at different locations to keep a watch. One of his men tells him that they are exposed from the hilly area, but Connie brushes his concerns off by saying that the snipers are keeping watch. During this time, Varela patches up Captain Torres and tells him that she was offered a job at a hospital in Madrid and that she is leaving soon. At the top of the mountains, 2 soldiers keep a lookout for enemies. Corporal Carranza calls Connie and tells him that they have spotted a man on the opposite side of the mountains, watching them. Connie notices the man and claims that he looks like a shepherd. Sergeant Aguilar tells him that all of them look like shepherds and asks Connie for permission to shoot. Connie does not agree and wants to follow the rules of engaging with the enemy. This is when one of the soldiers on watch tells Connie that the shepherd is only a child. All of a sudden, one of the soldiers with Connie runs toward the boy and starts talking to him, despite Connie telling him to stay back. Soon, the boy leaves, and when the soldier gets back, he tells Connie that the boy lives in a village nearby and had come to check on the explosion that he had heard. Not believing him, Connie calls back to the base and asks them to locate the boy through the satellite. They spot him immediately and find that he was not a shepherd. Frustrated, Connie informs his men that the enemy now knows their position and to stay on guard. Back at the military base, Ledesma comes up with a plan to attach the helicopter to the Chinook using 2 hooks. Meanwhile, at the point of the incident, Connie tells Captain Torres that he and his men are making too much noise. He then reminds him that it will be dark soon and that they cannot use any light. Captain Torres agrees and then assures Connie that the accident was not his fault. Connie then sends a sniper, Sabrino up to the mountains to keep a watch along with Corporal Carranza. By nightfall, the soldiers managed to take 600 kilos off the helicopter. Nearby, inside a medical tent, Varela and Raquel tend to the wounded soldiers when Raquel gets out of the tent to grab some equipment. Before she can make it out, Varela calls out to her and tells her that they had not turned off the lights inside the tent. This also catches the attention of Conti, who angrily tells Raquel to act like she is on a battlefield. At the military base, Ledesma tells the colonel that they need to leave for Bala Murghab that night so that they can be close to the point of incident by dawn. In the middle of the night, everyone hears the roar of a bike in the distance. They stand guard, ready for a possible attack. At the top of the mountain, Carranza notices a single man approaching the point of incident on a motorbike. He gets halfway there and then leaves again. Carranza instructs Sabrino to keep her head down and make sure she does not fire until the insurgents show themselves. During this time, Conti receives information that 47 insurgents are on their way to the point of incident. He reports back that they can hear them but can't see anything. Suddenly, men covered by a herd of goats start shooting at them. Conti asks Sergeant Aguilar to cover the other side of the field along with another soldier. As they are running across the field, two men on a motorbike speed towards them and start firing at them. Even though other soldiers manage to take the two insurgents down, the light from their motorbike illuminates the whole area. This gives the enemy the opportunity to continue with their attack. Conti asks his men to counter and a furious battle takes place between them. Eventually, with most insurgents killed, the rest of them retreat on their own. While the medics treat the wounded, Conti tells everyone to stay on guard and make sure the perimeter is not compromised. At the same time, the Chinook lands at the base and Ledesma is told that the point of incident was attacked. He then tries to come up with a strategy to counter the insurgents' attack. They call Conti and tell him to guard the point of the incident, and if it becomes indefensible, he should blow up the medevac and get everyone out using the ground vehicles. He is also told that over 200 insurgents have gathered near the field, and it is likely that they are planning to attack at dawn. Conti tells Captain Torres and Varela to keep all the wounded men in the vehicle so that they can be away from the gunfire. Meanwhile, the general and colonel decide to send 2 aircraft as a decoy to distract the enemy and 1 aircraft filled with ammunition and food for the soldiers. As the sun starts to rise, the insurgents jump into action and head for the point of the incident. Everyone at the point of the incident gets into position as well, ready for the insurgents to attack. Conti and Sergeant Aguilar spot the insurgents coming down from the mountain, with their guns drawn. Shooting begins from both sides, and just when they run out of ammo, 2 helicopters approach the point of incident and begin dropping bombs on the enemies. The insurgents begin retreating, giving the Chinooks a chance to land. One Chinook with the ammunition manages to land, but when the Ledesma tries to land the other Chinook, the dust makes it impossible to see the ground. Not being able to see the ground, they abort the mission temporarily. Ledesma tells Conti that they will have to destroy the medevac. This does not sit well with him, and he tells Ledesma that they have been through a lot for the medevac and that they need to somehow save it. Ledesma agrees and then tries again. Despite not being able to see, Ledesma releases the cable over the medevac. Suddenly, the insurgents come back and use cannons to attack the Chinook. Another battle begins, but this time they manage to hook the medevac to the Chinook. As they begin to rise, Ledesma tells Conti to gather his men and get on board. Just as Varela tries to get to the Chinook, the insurgents fire an RPG, causing her to fall back from the impact. Noticing an injured soldier on the side, she starts tending to him. Once done, she boards the other Chinook along with some of the other soldiers. Conti remains on the ground and leads the rest of the soldiers away on trucks. To their surprise, the insurgents block the roads using trucks, trapping them. Just when Ledesma decides to dump the medevac to rescue the rest of the men, they notice a helicopter approaching them. The helicopter drops bombs on the insurgents and clears the way for Conti and his men. The movie ends with the rescue mission being a success. If you liked the video, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help the channel out. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.